founder of ANA Digest. Welcome to the fourth episode of the ANA Digest Mighty Mind series. In this episode titled Friends in Design, we have with us 10 architects, most of whom have been friends since their architecture college days many years ago. In this episode, they open out their minds and hearts to us, sharing their experiences, views, thoughts, and anecdotes which shaped them as successful architects and the do's and don'ts which helped them throughout their professional careers. Let us unravel the attitudes and approach which they embraced to enjoy the sunshine in their careers. We have with us 10 friends, architects Amit Gadgil, Shantanu Joshi, Chinmay Kale, Vikrant Shinde, Sagar Shah, Pramod Dubey, Rohit Verma, Koshish Dhut, Sarang Inamdar, and Jaideep Deshpande. Happy viewing.
Very good evening, friends. Thank you so much for sparing your valuable time and coming on ANA Digest Mighty Minds. Thank you so much. Let's start the questions with Vikrant. Vikrant, what is the intangible purpose of architecture according to you, beyond brick and mortar?
First of all, thanks Amit for inviting us. It's a pleasant evening and it's very nice to be amongst friends. I think you started with a bouncer. Intangible purpose of architecture, I would say, is creating experiences. We as architects don't design only buildings, but we design experiences, I would say. Just to give an example, if one has to design a hospital and if the hospital is dull or not, if the hospital is done in a dull manner, the patient would not recover well enough. If it has been designed in a refreshing manner with ample light and open space and things like that, that will aid in his recovery. So I'd say that the intangible purpose, according to me, would be to create vibes in a building and guiding the energies.
Very well said. Sagar, the same question to you.
According to me, the architect means every person has an impact of the working conditions or the living condition on his personal life. So the architect can help to give an better working or living conditions through his design.
Chinmay?
I would say two things. One is comfortability, and the second is identity of the person. Whoever is using the space, or if it is a public space, then the public space criteria comes there. But identity and comfortability of the space, which gives comfort to the user, is very important. So that will be my answer.
Absolutely. Amit?
Elaborating more on what my friends have said, I would like to add that we design spaces basically. So to make people comfortable, as Chinmay has rightly pointed out, it could be the client, it could be the end user, it could be the masons working there, it could be the architect. So there are a couple of people who are working for that particular space. Unless and until the entire set of people who are involved in that particular space are comfortable and happy, that is what I think is the most intangible benefit that I have got from my profession.
Very aptly put, Amit. Pramod?
I think what everyone said, I can put it in few words, to make people's life comfortable. That's what I can say. But beyond that, I think architecture has served a bigger purpose. If you look at the time and era that has produced it, architecture has always reflected those times and eras. If we can do that in today's time, the change at that time. So beyond the basic comforts, I think there's a larger goal. In fact, that worries me a lot because as architect, when I'm practicing today, that question really worries me. Are we really making an impact? What we're doing right now, what we see around us, in fact, is our future generation is going to see us through that perspective. So it's a big question.
Do you
that
think
asked.
the maturity of your clients also is important as time goes? Do you think Indian clients are maturing now to good design?
Of course, they're maturing a lot compared to what was earlier. But I think the onus lies more on us. We know what our skills are, we know what's there, and we know what's needed.
Very interesting thoughts, Pramod. Koshish?
I think architecture is it's called mother of all arts. Other arts maybe give you 2D or 3D experiences, but in architecture we can create 4D, 5D, 6D kind of experiences. So we have to think of all those experiences through this architecture. So that's the intangible thing we are going to achieve.
Okay. Well said, well said. Sarang?
Actually, I agree to what you said. Architecture has a bigger role, and I think it is one of the major and very key kind of a tool in terms of nation building. I mean, if you want to see a healthy, cohesive social environment, you need to have good buildings, good monuments, good institutions, good recreational areas. They all are coming together and complementing each other. So yes, from a very tiny, small detail to a larger townscape, architecture and designer has a role to play at every level.
Shantanu?
I would like to state that actually the architects set the trend what is going on, and nowadays people travel more, so they are used to seeing things what are abroad, and right now there is no design style as such. It's a global design that everyone likes to see, for example Singapore. So I think architect plays a major role in making people believe that we are with the world, means we are doing well and at par with what other developed countries are doing. So I think yes, we do
So
play an important
does
role.
it put a challenge on you now? It's more challenging to live up to than the earlier decades?
I think it is not a challenge that has been given right now, but when we graduated from that time itself, our teachers have been telling us that you have to be updated with what is going on, and I think we should implement it in our designs as well. Means the design has to be progressive rather than stagnant.
Right. So as Pramod said, it's a continuous process evolving over eras. Agreed. Rohit?
According to my architecture, it's two things, inside and outside. The Pramod said that the outer impact will be seen by others. The architecture seen by the others will explain the country, the situation, the financial condition, and all that things. But according to me, I more prefer on internal part, the positive energy which create by the design, which we create only by architect, not by the any mason or a direct civil engineer or something. That energy actually is important for me. If you create a positive energy space, then 100% that design will be work for that particular space also. So energy is a entangular process for me.
Very interesting aspect. Jaideep?
For me, architecture is pretty simple. A space that you just walk into and feel nice. It can inspire the coming generations, the older people, the upcoming guys, the guys who are into workforces. So the idea of walking into a space and inspiring them to do better is the kind of inspirations that we actually plan to give to our coming generations, or probably our seniors as well. Because India has unfortunately faced time, we are seeing times which are like in between a lot of transitions. So we had the Britishers who were ruling us, we had the Mughals, the Britishers, and then came the Indians. So unfortunately, in Indian scenario, we are caught up in a very big tangle. The only reasons why we feel better when we go out and see some other experiences is probably because the language of architecture that is developed there has evolved. We as Indians, we need to, in spite, we probably might have better architectural spaces around us than a lot of other parts in the world. But our urban context, and once we actually accept the facts that we have these challenges and we need to overcome these and then probably make a difference towards this entire, our journey has to actually be in such a way that it it gives a nice feel to the people around us to actually identify to our nation. So once we could do that, that is what we need to strive in our architectural progress. So let's see how.
Yes, yes, Pramod, please.
I think you asked a very good question. It's like triggering more question, and the more I listen to everyone's answer, more ideas coming up.
Please.
I think architecture can take any shape or size depending upon what geographical locations are, who's the client, who's the end user, and what many conditions like economic conditions, socio-economic. I think what every person thinks is every person is touched by architecture in a certain way. Some might feel that I have to be really sensitive to the people who are using it. Some might feel that I have to be really do something which reflects the generation that we are in, the condition that we are in. Every person has a different idea. So I think at the end, every person should have his own one single interpretation of architecture and pursue that, because one life would be not enough to justify that one idea of architecture. Because there are many, many varied ways that architecture can be interpreted in today's world. Yeah, there are a lot of facades. Jaideep said something else. Rohit said something else. I think it's a vast field.
You saying this just made me wonder, and I would like to ask you this personally, that an architect, finally architecture has a person behind it, right? An architect. So the upbringing of an architect in a particular social strata. Now this is an off-track question, but I just wonder that suppose an architect who's brought up in a rich family, some architects brought up in a lower middle class family, a middle class family, or a poor family, and they work and they become an architect. But the exposure which they have towards spaces, towards maybe hospitality, an architect born in a rich family may be used to a 5-star hotel and very comfortable, or a jacuzzi for that matter, or spas and all. And a person who is brought up in a less economic strata may not be exposed. So is it a challenge, or it doesn't matter actually? Research is equal for everyone. Or does it also have an impact, I'm sorry, on the choices, the traits of that architect throughout the career?
A very big impact, I would say. I'll just give an example. At the very beginning of my career, I got a project which was almost like 2 million square feet. I was just 1 year, not even 1 year in my practice, 2 million square feet and almost 25 acres. And designing that, I could have designed in a mathematical way. I had certain knowledge, I could have used that. I had done jobs at very nice places. I had learned some ideas from there, and I had some idea of how to go about this project. But the main thing which helped me is the kind of place that I was staying at. When I came to Pune, I stayed in a community which was quite big. I mean, I would say 8 to 9 acres of area with around 1,200 dwellings. Staying there actually taught me what is good and what is not good. And that experience of me staying in that area for 2 years actually helped me design the new community that I was undertaking. And I'm very proud to say that I'm really today happy that I designed it in a really nice way. I might not have done master planning or urban design, but I thought of the end user. And a lot of new ideas I put in, the client was really receptive. In fact, they were not receptive, but I could convince them. You can say it that way. Because I was convicted to what I had experienced. So
you think it does have an influence?
It has a big impact.
Thank you.
But if I may
Yes,
add,
please, Vikrant.
It was a very valid point that you have raised, the kind of conditioning or the upbringing of the person. I would say that conditioning or the background with which he comes through is his identity. That's what shapes him, and that's what creates the USP for him. So if one is talking about creating global kind of an architecture or similar kind of architecture everywhere, you're somewhere stereotyping architecture, I believe. So the need of the hour is perhaps to contextualize architecture. Now there has been a very varied approach to really define what is the golden mean between local architecture and what is called as global architecture. So responding to the context is what I think is the need of the hour, and the thought process or the upbringing of the person is like saying going to the roots and then responding to what the site or the context has to offer.
Absolutely, Vikrant. Well put. Yeah. Pramod, coming to you, which is the one most important rule in your professional practice, which you never break? It's sacred to you, the golden rule, which you never break in your professional practice.
Say sacred rule, I listen to my heart. I think that's the only thing, because I think my instincts are good enough, and I always, when I'm in a dilemma, I have some confusion, I have some issues going on, I back my intuition.
Sagar, any particular golden rule or which you would never break in your practice?
Yeah, if you say a sacred rule, I never give a false commitment to client. So it could be about the timeline, it could be about the cost, it could be anything. I mean, many times what happens if we give an estimate to a client, he comes with the alternative estimate, which is lower than us, and tell us to fit in it. If it is not possible, I directly deny it, or I can give an alternative suggestion for it, but I never give a false commitment.
Even at the cost of losing that client, you
Yeah,
still
of course,
follow it.
because if I give a false commitment, later on it's going to hammer.
Koshish, any particular rule which you follow in your practice, which you never break?
Before giving execution drawing, I generally do all the details drawings, and then only I submit those drawing for the execution.
So you never break this rule?
Yeah.
Oh, that's important to you.
Yeah.
Sarang?
Actually, if you see the design process, we usually start as having a very context-based approach and then have a analytical study of it. So once the design is final by all the stakeholders, whenever there is a change which is going to happen, even from my side or from client side, I expect that it needs to be reasoned out completely, even if it is a small detail or a big change. Because sometimes it happens that somebody sees something or somebody gets inspired from something and they come back and they said, okay, chalo ye nahi wo karte. तो क्यों करते हैं वो आपको बताना चाहिए, even if it's me or even if the client, if it is even changing the entire what you can say, whatever work we have done till date, still you have to reason it out. So that is what I expect from me also and from the.
Is this in writing?
No, it is not in writing, but I usually debate, or there has to be a discussion gone through. It should not be just like. Well, then otherwise what will happen is that we will lower ourselves and people also start expecting low from this particular profession. It won't be good for the profession that अरे चलता है यार क्या है ये रख के वो दे दिया.
That's a very nice rule you follow. Yeah. Shantanu, any particular rule which you never break in your practice?
So I think in my practice, we practice honesty. So I think honesty is very important to me, be it the client or my partners or my staff or anybody. Means if you are honest to your work and whatever it is, we keep it very clear with the client कि ठीक है delay हो रहा है तो हो रहा है. Means I cannot do
sticky
anything.
situations.
नहीं. But I think many of the clients also like that कि ठीक है भाई कि he is not keeping it to himself, and they are also very clear on that कि delay हो रहा है तो ठीक है, it is beyond his control. So and also in our practice also कि I have seen many partnerships also break because architects didn't have ethics maintained and honesty, and so I think that is the most important rule that we.
So honesty is your
practice, yes.
golden rule, your most important rule. Okay, Rohit.
According to me, I am more practical on my profession. Most of the times there are many situations which created on site, some arguments, some design concept fail, whatever the situation may happen on site. I never let down any project at all until and unless that project will be finished and the client will be happy. I will try for them. Sometimes it may happen because of some financial condition, the client's approach, client's attitude. It may hurt you when you are designing, but it's a part of our profession. So I understand that this is a part of a profession. So any time, any situation, I will try to finish that project completely. That is the
Wonderful. So that's a rule which you never break.
Yes.
That's amazing. Amit?
Like everybody is saying, it's honesty and transparency. The more honest and transparent you are with the client, be very frank about it. It's not that like you are committing murders here. You can be upfront and say that the project cost is going high because of these reasons. If these reasons are valid, there is no reason why the client should take an objection. If the reasons are not valid, then you need to figure a way out. And the way out need not be something which is a malpractice or, something on false basis.
Jaideep?
I think so, integrity. Because when you're handling projects which are like 100 crores plus, the kind of integrity that you need to have, because integrity is it's a huge word. A lot of things come along. You know how things really work. So for me, I think so, integrity is the key. I just hold
Fantastic. So
very
you
dear
live
to
with
my-
a strong conscience. Because truth finally comes out always. So that's amazing. Chinmay?
I agree with many of these people. So I have realized that if you want to practice transparency, honesty, integrity and all, there are two things which are very important for actually executing this. One is, as Amit has rightly said, time management. You should be on time, and so that other people's will be on time. And second is a very important point, which is documentation. As Sarang has pointed out, there are many changes, then they have to resend out, or as Sagar said, that there will be some problem or delays on site and all, everything is there. So if you have a good documentation at your end, on what is happening on the site, what is happening in the say sanctioning processes, what is happening on the design front, or the now there are many things which we required consultants like landscape, facade and everything. So every thing, if you can make a diary or a file and have a proper documentation, this really helps in maintaining this transparency and this thing. So I was not very good at documentation right from my first year of practice, but over the years I have developed it, and now I have my own process of documenting it.
That's your golden rule.
That is my golden rule. So with my documentation, you can easily make out if I have made a mistake, or whoever have made a mistake, or and there are instances that due to this documentation, we have come out with ideas to overcome these things and provide a good solution to the client or end user.
Fantastic. Vikrant?
I think everybody pretty much have said, but I won't call it rule, but certain way of working, I would say. Punctuality, as what Amit has mentioned, is what I try to achieve. The second thing which is very important is sticking to the brief, is one thing which I try to incorporate. Because if a client or a person approaches you as an architect, he has certain set of aspirations. That's why he comes to you. He has certain imagery in mind of what kind of end product he is looking for. By sticking to the brief, I am not saying that whatever he comes up, I just take it as a sacrosanct thing. But before going for design, whatever has been finalized with the client, I try to take that not as a rule, but as something which is a deliverable, which is very important, because it then somewhere reflects on your professionalism.
But isn't that a job of every architect? Like, isn't it a given thing?
It is definitely, but in the process, in the design process or after execution, it doesn't happen that ये तो brief से match ही नहीं कर रहा है. This is not what I aspire to do. That's why the client and the architect relation perhaps then takes a toll.
So your rule is that I will do what I'm supposed to do.
No, I'm saying respecting the aspirations of the client.
Very nice. Rohit, a little tongue-in-cheek, the next question, but my purpose behind asking this question is a bit in-depth to bring out the virtues of everyone in this. Whom do you envy the most? I'm going to take the advantage that all of you are friends. Many of you all have been batchmates and from the same institution. So I'll just take advantage. Whom do you envy the most amongst all of your friends sitting here, and why? I want you all to be very candid and honest, my friends, in this round.
Professionally, no. But when you take as a personal life,
Anyways.
personal life, I will rather take the name of Amit.
Amit, and why?
Because actually, I don't know how he manage his how he balance his personal life and professional life very well. I don't know. Actually, when I do my practice, I rather realize that I am rather shifted towards the professional life more than the personal life. He is excellent in both. Really balance. And I really
So you
like
envy Amit because of
100%,
how he
yes.
balances his personal
Yes,
life.
yes, yes.
Give the mic to him. Let's get out the secret. So Amit, he envies you because you balance your personal life. I have a question for you, which it has a rider. This question. First, you're continuously surrounded by staff, associates, clients, vendors, contractors, family, children. How do you find your alone time? So this is going more deeper for yourself.
Okay.
And then how do you find time for your family? How do you balance?
Okay, so what he's not the only one, thankfully, who thinks like that, and I'm kind of proud of it. And what I would, when people ask me this, there are a couple of people who keep asking me की तुला वेळ कसा मिळतो सगळं करायला. So I tell them कि I don't know, my secret to this is I have kind of learned how to prioritize things. I know what I want today. What I want 15 years down the line, I have no clue. What I want today, what I want probably next weekend, I know. And I work towards that, is what I feel.
What's the process? How do you prioritize?
It has just come to me. I don't think that I have made an effort for it. As these guys would know, I have been always a social person, more organizing things better rather than designing things better. So somehow that social life of, or the the preference for social life has started prioritizing things. So like I mentioned a while ago, I feel that everything is absolutely as equally important as the next thing. So the work cannot take precedence over a personal life. That is absolutely right.
That's how you balance.
So yes, so to give you an example, I do not work on Sundays as a rule. Whoever is the client, and I have given up projects for this rule.
You switch off your cell phone.
No, I don't switch off because my friends keep calling me, so I can't switch off. And they are equally important, let me say that. So I don't really switch off, but probably I'm in a semi-state of nirvana that I have understood how to prioritize things, trying to get to nirvana, hopefully sometime.
At the same time, having your worldly matters and affairs, your professional achievements and goals.
Yeah, exactly, because I can prioritize, I feel. There has never been a time, thankfully, till now, where I have had to, take a call ki personal life pe dhyan do ki professional life pe dhyan do.
Now coming to whom do you envy amongst all of those who are sitting here and why?
Yeah, so I will not say that I envy somebody as a person, but there are a lot of qualities, inherent qualities or individual qualities in people that I would like to, really pick up. For example, I know Koshish is an extremely hardworking guy. And I have told him time and again that I really respect him for that. The amount of hard work that this guy can put is phenomenal.
Okay, you get to choose one. So Koshish, tell me the secret of your dedication and your hard work. How you maintain this attitude? How did you develop? It's an attitude. Hard work is an attitude. It's not a skill. Okay, it's your attitude. How did you get into this?
Maybe from childhood I'm a hard worker. I'm doing everything, so that's made me I mold in that way, so it's automatically happening with me.
So viewers, having a balanced life and being hardworking are the two virtues which has come out already from this round. Now your turn. Whom do you envy from all the friends sitting here?
Actually,
and why?
I envy from
Pick one. You get to choose one.
No, all of them, because
Name one.
all are unique and everybody has some different kind of
Don't try to wriggle out of this this thing. You have to name one.
no, everyone.
Okay. Passing to Chinmay, whom do you envy from all? You were just escaped, but we are. So whom do you envy from any one of these?
Amit.
Amit? Okay.
And the question you were asking, I have answer for it.
Okay.
I envy him, what I want to learn from him is clarity of mind.
Okay.
See, you can make out. He will say whatever he is thinking, and he will say it clearly. He will not give that this is also good, this is that, this is no.
Okay. So Mighty Minds is contributing a lot of thoughts, and clarity of mind is another important virtue to have in the profession of architecture and design. Pramod, whom do you envy out of all your friends sitting here, and why?
I envy, he's going to kill me for that, but I envy Vikrant's wittiness.
Wittiness.
He
okay.
is really good at that.
So whom do you envy, Jaideep?
Well, here,
Yes.
I think so Sarang.
Sarang? And why do you envy Sarang?
Well, he's like Poe, you know. There's a character. It's a character. It's a panda character. So I relate to that fellow because whenever I see him, he's extremely talented, and yet he's got all the time to do whatever he wants to do.
You're a big fan in your friend Sarang. The mic to Sarang, please. Sarang, whom do you envy who are all sitting here?
See, all of these are my college mates. So I'm knowing all these guys since last 15, 20 years.
But you pick one.
Yeah, I'm going to pick. I envy myself, and I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why.
Yeah, you're so modest. Huh?
Because I have these guys with me. You know, everyone, as he pointed out, that he just talked about his hardworking skill. I know where that hard work came from. I know this guy from 20 years. And the best quality he has, that he knows where to stop. Most of the people don't know where to stop. He knows where to stop. I know Chinmay, I mean, our families go long back in 60s. So from everyone, I'm every day learning something, and I have seen their success, I have seen their struggle, I have seen how they picked themselves up. So I envy myself that I am surrounded by all these great characters, and every day they are adding something good to my life.
Okay. I believe you, and very diplomatic, but...
No, it is not diplomatic.
I believe you.
No,
I believe you. I believe you, Sarang. Yeah, you made everyone happy. Okay, Shantanu?
Just to choose one right now that comes to mind is PD, because
That's Pramod Dubey
Yeah.
for our viewers. Huh? Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
you call him PD.
because his level of fitness that he maintains, and for all the but I really
Interesting,
envy him
interesting,
to
yeah.
keep means he has been playing with us for last say 4 or 5 years, all your seasons.
In which league? The ANA Digest Cricket League. Yeah.
Yes. So that's where I got to know him, and he plays with us for the other tournament as well, the other ball, and I really envy his fitness, and at his age, I should not disclose it.
Sagar?
Okay, to pick one, actually, I can say Koshish, because I actually can't say envy, but I actually like his attitude at everything. Means he's in everything. If you go in a pub, he will dance. Like if he's playing cricket, he will give his 100%. If he's working, he will give his 100%. And so I means मला जास्त कौतुक आहे त्याचं.
Yeah.
Actually.
So he gives 100% in whatever he does. Yeah. Wonderful. Koshish, lots of compliments coming your way. Vikrant, whom do you envy the most amongst all the friends sitting here, and why?
What Koshish said really makes sense. So it's I think everybody are here because of the might they have proven. But I'd like to answer this differently. I envy Sarang for his knowledge and the ability to pick out right content to share at right time is a thing which I envy.
Which he just did.
Yeah. See, he displays that often. About Shantanu, I envy the fact that he organizes things well. Charm for JD, definitely. Professional life of PD. Pramod, meticulousness of Chinmay. You would find a very, Tik Thak, everything at right place from Chinmay. Amit, favorite, everybody's favorite, so not much to say. Rohit, he's the life of a party, so that is one thing which is envious of him. He's the silent killer. You look at his frame and you say that, okay, क्या बोलते हैं उसको, छोटा धमाका, that. So he's a silent killer, and of course the hard worker. So if I have all these qualities in me, then I would definitely envy myself.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much for being so candid in this round. Now let's go a bit in depth and a little more profound. Jaideep, I'll start with you. Did you ever feel like giving up in this profession? Did you feel frustrated? Did you lose your patience? You felt like giving up and starting something else?
Yeah, actually I did, because I think so a lot of people do. But you know what? The best part of architecture is there's always tomorrow. The second day was different. So I had to pick myself, and we just started off. And I'll tell you, Amit, from that day, touch wood till today, I think so we've scaled up like 5 times, 6 times, 7 times. So there are things which actually, trigger the best out of you. I think so that was the time when...
That's wonderful, wonderful. Thank you, Jaideep. Now coming to Pramod, the same question.
Well, I think there have been a few incidences where I really felt frustrated, maybe with the situation which was not in my control, or some things which maybe I had goofed up. I would like to point out this particular thing right in the start of my career. I did a goof up in a project which I designed myself. I was doing job at that time, but I was also doing my professional work outside. And I goofed up on a bylaw, and the client, for him also, he was a new developer, I mean, not a very established developer as such. And I still remember the kind of sleepless nights I had. It was a big burden for him. He was going to lose on some FSI, he was going to lose on some money. I think I was fortunate enough that he could really understand my integrity at that time. Thank God that he could really see the effort that I was putting in. There was no intent from my side to cause him any harm. And he really supported me at that time. He's still a friend of mine, a very good friend of mine now. And he knows him. Yeah. So what I learned from that goof up was, actually you should also learn to forgive yourself. Amit said it very nicely some time back, that you need to outgrow your own guilt. I mean, don't give yourself so much importance. You're not great. I mean, you could do mistakes, and go beyond it. And
Wonderful,
just pursue it.
wonderful, wonderful. Chinmay?
Yeah, there are instances when I didn't want to give up, but I was frustrated. But then I realized that everybody in every career has these points coming up. So what we need to have is patience, and think about it as a problem that you have to solve, definitely solve. It is not that you will think over it and then take the actions and whatever happens, let's see. It's not that kind of attitude which is helpful here. So in that way I tried to solve it, and in 2-3 cases, or say 2-3 sites, I was able to solve them. And then I realized that it is all at some point of time it is a goof up that you make. There are many things happening in and around us, professional criteria, some people, they have their own agendas. Everything is going to happen in everyone's career. But you have to be clear that you have to keep patience and think over it as how you are going to solve the problem 100%. And not leave behind any thread, or let's solve this problem as a 30% will be taken care of, we will solve it 70%. This is not the right attitude.
So persistence and persuasion, that is important.
So after that, I have been happy about it.
In my case, initially, yes, I have been frustrated. It's actually different way. When I started my career, everybody comparing me with my father. So at that, when I designed something, the client told me that, ask your father, is it worth or no? I 100% felt that my design is better than obviously my father. But every time, every single design, it will be compared with my father. And design is a actually unique thing. Every mind create their own design. So it is not any formula that the experienced one you get more better design than the fresher one. At that time, actually, I felt why they are comparing me. See the design. If my design is actually you don't like, then that is okay. But why you are comparing always with my father? At that time, I 100% frustrated. But initially, when I have proven myself with my design, my practicing style, because that time I shifted. Initially, I have the client coming from my father end. At that time, I decided, no, I want new client. So I started myself with the small project, with the new client. There is no relation with my father's client. Then I have proven 2-3 projects, and obviously it's a multiple game. So if you proven, then there is nothing means nothing you will stop. Then now I'm really happy. People are addressing me. At that time, I'm really happy. That father is always with me, but I have my identity too.
Sagar?
Yeah, at the previous stage of practice, I do get frustrated from small things. But after practicing of 3-4...
No, major frustration, like where you felt like giving up your profession.
Not giving up a profession, but at times I would think of rejoining the job. I think that this is the where you can get a peace of mind, or you don't have that kitch and pressure and all these things. But after 3-4 years, I studied how to tackle the situations, and then got to know where the situations or the things where I got frustrated, that though not even that big to get frustrated. Those are small things. So then after the 4-5 years, I never felt to give up or something.
Koshish?
Many times I start thinking I will give up with this profession. I have discussed with these guys also many times, because last 10 years we are trying to build my practice, but it's not grown that. But if I think what other thing I can do, but I don't know anything other than this, so I can't leave this. So I have to do this thing. So many times I push myself and start doing building myself and doing things better and better, trying to do that. So yeah.
Vikrant?
Yeah, to add to what Koshish is saying, I won't call it frustration, because frustration has slightly negative connotation to it. I'll call them challenges, perhaps. So each profession has its own challenges. For me, there is no plan B. And so I think that my plan B is to go back to plan A. So, and I've trained myself to think that I have educated myself. 5 years I have put in for architecture, and 2 more years to do masters. So I have not put in those years to leave the profession. So I have to respect those years. I have to build on my education and whatever my experience. Let the world put forth all frustrations and things like that in, but you have to sail through all of that. And being in the creative field always gives you those outputs where you can, have a outpour of those frustrations. Be it. There's so many other creative pursuits you can vent out the frustration.
Well spoken. Sarang?
Usually, when an architect completes his education, he or she joins a firm and gets some practical experience. And when he or she starts working on his own, that is, I think, the frustrating period for me. Because, when I was working in an office and I was explaining something to the client, they were agreeing to it, or whatever designs they were getting. There was a smooth process. And somewhere I believe that, okay, that same thing is going to carry when I'll start practicing. But when I start practicing, the client, I'm facing the client on my own, and there are different challenges which I might have not faced in office. So I was, a little bit worried that why this person is not understanding what I am trying to say. And then after some time, that little phase of frustration, I realized that no, I have to orient that client first. So that somehow that realization came at a very right point. Otherwise, I don't know. But as these guys said similarly, that architecture is a profession where you don't have really a plan B. It's a profession you choose. It's a very creative kind of a profession. So people who are really interested, they come here by accident or by choice, that's a different story. But people who are really interested in architecture, they really don't have a plan B. They usually wait it out or they stick to this profession.
So learning from this experience which you had, you always make it a point to sensitize clients.
Yes. It is very important because see, there is one nice line one of my professor told me is that this is such a good profession that you get to execute your ideas on expense of someone else. So how इससे ज़्यादा क्या हो गया अच्छा? So I always remember that line whenever you feel that why he's not understanding this or why this is not happening 100%. So yes, even if it is happening like 80-90% good, you can improvise it later. But I don't think so that no matter how one can get frustrated or worried that the profession is treating me, you have to wait it out, you have to stick it on, and good things will come. Good things do come. Definitely.
Absolutely. It looks so, it's wonderful to see you so positive and proud of your profession, because people come to you with their aspirations,
Yes,
dreams.
of course.
Maybe to a doctor, with due respect to all professions, they go with their ailments or but to you they come with their dreams and aspirations. Shantanu?
No, I don't think I have ever been so frustrated that I am out of this profession. I think when there are problems, it is sometimes the stress gets to you, but then again you think that the client is looking up to you as the specialist for this job. So if you even think of quitting, then it would be unjust on the client also. So I think you have to fight it out. You are appointed for the job and you have learned, put all the efforts, and so somehow you have to get out of it and you have to stick to it. Maybe some problems are such that it takes more time too, but there is always some solution to it, and at least in my case, they're all viable, and you have to just click and go through it.
Shantanu, hold the mic. The next question comes to you. Friends, from this collective thoughts, we understood that when your resources are equal to the issue at hand, it's a challenge, as Vikrant said. When your resources are better more than the issue at hand, that is a trivia, what Amit said. But when your resources are lesser than the problem, than the issue, then it's a problem. So a tsunami can be a problem, but rest all is in your hands. So wonderful. I'm sure everyone will gain a lot of inspiration from this round. Shantanu, do you feel insecure about work, fear of failure, of losing your work to the maybe next generation, newcomers?
At this stage, I don't think, I am also a newcomer at this stage, so I think others need to fear from me. So, no, I don't think I've reached that stage that my designs, not a design, I said any solution is outdated, or I cannot come up with solution that any other, because it has been just 15 years.
15 years, you're young at heart.
Right now, we are just starting to gain. So I think in architecture, 15 years is not a senior architect for sure.
Yeah. Amit?
Fear of failure should be there so that one can perform better is what I really think. The minute you get complacent, your quality will go down. So there should be always a fear of failure, but you should also know that you will overcome this failure. So reaching that point is what it really takes to be successful, I feel. Like we always keep saying when we watch the matches of India कि अरे ये टीम अभी बहुत complacent हो गई, हर बारी जीत रही है, एक बार तो हारना चाहिए. That is very important so that they perform the best of their abilities in the next series. So I feel there should be always a sense of competition, a sense of a fear of failure for growth of individual is what I feel.
But do you feel insecure?
Yeah, of course. That's how you stay sane.
Very honest of you. Vikrant?
As rightly said by Amit, the sense of insecurity definitely pops up sometime, but I would address it in a different manner. Many of our friends are into academics and we go as visiting faculty. So I would lightly say that we are training our competitors there. But we are training our competitors to think in a better manner so that the profession gains something out of it. Personally, as Amit rightly said, if you don't have that sense of failure, you won't perform to your truest potential. So there is always this thin line that you are walking, that if I'm off balance, I might end up falling down. So I think that is the key to keep the spark alive in the profession.
Sarang?
Personally, I feel nervous about every project, the beginning of the project. And then, of course, at the end of the project, that I want my project or whatever opportunity gets to me has to be completed and completed in a good way. So, yes, I always feel nervous about every project I do at various stages. And talking about this insecurity issue, I don't think I have insecurity about it. And because see, this is like an open sea. I mean, anyone can come, and nowadays there are people who are practicing design. I'm not saying architecture or anything. They are practicing design who are not having formal education. They are doing good. Some of them they are not doing good. But it's an open thing. So everyone has its own path. Everyone has its own clientele or people who appreciate certain kind of work. Because if you see all the great architects or people who are doing good, they are doing their own thing. They are really not bothered about what is going on. As he rightly said, Vikas Bandari was my professor also. He's one of the fiercest guy. Karna hai to karna hai. So there are many examples like that. So one need not feel insecure about that, "Arey, ye mera kaam chhin lega," because there is a lot of work and there are a lot of people doing it. So everyone has its unique path. You have to walk. Sometimes you have to wait it out. But you will get it eventually.
Rohit?
Actually, no. There is no insecurity right now. Because actually, I have been working last 15 years. Whatever project I did for my client, whatever I deliver my project detailing or my designing or my services to my client, 100% I know that he will be come back to me again. So at that situation, the current situation, I don't insecure at all. Actually there are the various category of client. So the good client suggests a good architect, but some client actually just because of the fees structure, the commercial structure, they pass on the project. They even think that he can do or no. Just because of fee structure, the senior one charges more and the junior one charges less. At that time, not insecure, but I felt that there should be some basic guidelines in a profession. Like any profession or any field, there is a standard charges or there is a standard system which we charge. In architecture, there is nothing. Some may be charged in lakhs, some may be charged in thousands only. At that time, yes,
But if you see in cinema, an actor who establishes charges more and
Yes,
a
yes,
newcomer
yes,
charges less.
100%.
Or if you see in surgeons,
Yes,
or if you
yes.
see in so many professions.
Current situation, I'm not insecure. But yes, because of just the charging, because some client know that he can deliver a good project, he can charge me more. But 100% every client is not like that. There is a problem because we are working in a social manner. There is a various category of client, from educated to non-educated one. Educated people 100% know that he is charging more because his experience, he can deliver a good project and everything. But sometimes, just because of their lack of knowledge, they rejected us.
I got your point. Only the free design concept should just stop. We had also supported this campaign and
Yes, yes.
say no to free design. You know. So
In initial days, I faced a lot of problem. Lot of client asking me for a design. I do the design, and after designing, they just rejected just because they don't have money for that project. So why they are come for me? If they don't have money, then why are asking me for to design? But now I have done some rules for me.
so you take advance.
Yes,
Without
yes,
that, you don't.
100%. Without advance, there are some office rules.
This is what everyone should follow.
Yes, yes,
actually,
100%. So it should be standardized. According to me, it should be standardized. And during the college period, which we learn in college period, it's way different than the we practice.
Interesting observation. Jaideep?
Well, insecurity related to the juniors. See,
In general, feeling insecure of losing.
I'll come to the first point first. I think so. I've been lucky with my seniors. The places where I've been worked, I was mentored properly, and they've given me everything that they've given a very good a base of knowledge that came along, which I was able to grow as during my practice years. Juniors, yes, they're going to come. It's a fact of life. It's a circle of life. And I think so, as professionals, we should be open to that. If someone is good, then he's good. And you have to accept it. Related to architectural insecurities and stuff, I think so we've come a long way now. So matured enough to understand how the process goes. Part of life. So sometimes you win, sometimes you lose.
Has there been any project in your career
Yeah.
where during the preparation or during the design stage,
Yeah.
it scared you, made you nervous,
Yeah.
sick to the stomach,
I think so.
like
A lot of
anxious?
A lot of projects do it. They do. So you every time there's a new project. So whenever you sit on the board, the approach to the project has to be different. And I think so. That's the beauty of architecture,
True,
right?
true. As Sarang also said that even now he gets nervous before every. There was this famous play at Broadway which ran on for decades,
Yeah.
and the lead character, so he used to play the Blackbeard's ghost,
Yeah.
and he said thousands of times every day, he's done the same role. And every time before he begins, he knew his lines backwards. It was a daily routine for decades for him. But he said every time before the curtains were going to open, I had butterflies in my stomach.
Yeah.
So an architect also, before starting a new project,
So I think so
must
that's
be
what
having-
drives you, right?
Yeah, true that.
Yeah.
True that. Koshish,
Fear is always there.
so you agree with Amit that you should be on your toes. So
Yes,
insecurity
yes.
keeps you on your
That-
toes.
that keeps us on the edge, and always keep us more learnings, and that kind of process is always happening because of that fearness is there and insecurity is there. So we are learning all the time. We are upgrading ourselves.
Absolutely, yeah. Pramod?
Yeah. You use the word newcomers, right? Newcomers, they are the future. And if we want to go into future, of course, we have to be as good as them. Do you feel insecure? I won't like to use the word insecure, but I would like to add the word, I'm always alert of newcomers. And why would you fear a newcomer? because they have got some different skill sets, maybe they've something different than what we
More
were.
comfortable with technology.
Exactly. I was going to come to that only. It is what? It's only technology maybe, but ultimately what counts is experience. So we should always back our experience when we feeling that insecurity. We have experience. Now it's new skills. If they use those technology as a tool, they can also grow. And if I can use that technology as a tool, I can also grow. And I can also step into the new future. Okay. So it teaches us to adapt. That's what I see. Newcomers, in fact, I always like to work, interact with newcomers. Even in my office, I've had people working with me with whom I've interacted so much and I've learned so much from them. And I think somehow I've stopped feeling insecure from newcomers.
Sagar.
Yeah, if you say a fear, yes, I have. Means if I know that I am competing with someone, it could be a newcomer, it could be a senior architect, but it is beneficial for me if I know that I am competing with another architect. I will give 110% to the project, to design it, to design it or to present it to the client. Then it gets means I would get a project or not is the second thing, but I will give 110%. But yes, I have insecurities, so I will work harder. Means that way it's beneficial for me.
Yeah, Chinmay.
I would like to say that in any creative field, the newcomers are very important. As he said, they are the future. And in our course of architecture, we have always been told by teacher or teachers have emphasized that you have to update yourself, upgrade yourself, and this is a profession or this is a field where you are into a teamwork. It's not only that I am a very good designer and the building will be best. No, you have to put in a team which is the best, and only that team will give you the best result. So in this thinking, the fear of failure should be always there, because the complacency should not be there. It is only there when you are fearless or you are careless. In newcomers' sense, I always feel that they are, as you said, they are fearless. So more bold and unique ideas come from them, and you have to appreciate it, because at one day you were the junior, now you are a senior. And if you see any architecture college,
The thesis which they exhibit or their exhibitions.
And it is like on that thesis, the basic research and work is going to be the person who is presenting but the models, the sketches, every junior or a set of juniors work with the senior on these projects, because they want to know what is going to happen with them in next coming years. So this is what you guys say. There was this thing called as Gurukul. It was same like in architecture colleges, all the architectural colleges. Even we have all of these will agree that we were working for other college seniors also, because it is always an exchange of ideas. And in any art or especially in architecture, ideas are the main key to give good solutions or better solutions.
Well said, absolutely.
So insecurity should not be there. We should be more inclusive about newcomers. And fear of failure, yes, everybody should have it, because no complacency is allowed in our field.
So the last question for the evening, friends, which is that one advice which you never got, which you think today on hindsight that you should have been told before you began your individual practice? So Sarang, we'll start with you.
I think having one live project in your curriculum, maybe at 4th year or 5th year, maybe you may not work on it, but having site visits to that one live project where how an architect works from drawing board to ground.
Wow. So
That
from
process-
concept to completion, right from the client's brief. That's
they can,
amazing.
even if it is a small project, it will do large amount of good to the people who are doing this, because we have seen and experienced also that people change completely once they go to practical training and they come back.
Shantanu?
The advice that I would have loved to got is, I think I worked after I passed out. I worked for 3 years in a firm and then I started on my own. But now looking back, I think I should have worked for more years at a senior architect, so that means eventually you get to that point, but takes longer when you learn it on your
So somebody
own.
should have told you that time, ki,
Yes,
please
I
work
think-
more. Don't start your own
Yes.
practice. Okay.
So for the juniors who might be listening, then I would say that at least 5 to 7 years you should practice somewhere with a senior architect and then start on
Yeah,
your own.
true.
So I think
Yeah, Jaideep.
I think so. The smarter guys, the smarter newcomers will eventually get there. So this advice will be for the simpler guys. Know your, do your homework. The second will be, I think so, explore. The third will be just be fearless, because it's not rocket science.
Pramod.
Well, I think my advice would be for those people who know what they want to do at the college time. When you get out of college, if you know what kind of practice you want to do, work with those kind of people for an extended period and be sure that you have learned everything before you start your own practice. The benefit of starting your practice after learning everything from a job is you start at that level. If you start early, you have to do that struggle on your own. But if you learn here, you can start from there and you can really jump.
Chinmay.
I would advise that while your 5 years of education is going on, try and be associated with some firms, not as a trainee or a working person, but to know actually what suits you or what your temperament or what is your thinking, your approach. So that doing homework, but that doing homework should be a continuous process.
Yeah, but you had your uncle in this
Yeah.
case. But so many architects won't be, won't be accommodated
No.
till they are in their last year or in the internship period. But
I'm not saying that do a job there. Or, you have to see many people like some of us are here are teaching as well as practicing.
Right.
And I am 100% sure that they will like their students to come to their office, see what kind of projects are going on. What
So you are
the
game for
approach
this.
is. Yeah. So that kind of rapport should be developed between you and the professionals.
Amit, that one advice which you thought you should have
Okay,
got.
so the question was the advice that I should have got, right? So there are two parts to the story. One is the advice that I got, but I did not take it. So the cousin who inspired me to, be an architect, when I got through architecture admission, he always kept telling me that after you pass your first year, from second year, try to get into a part-time job with some architect so that you understand the nuances of the profession. But somehow, Moj Masti, friends, the pseudo submission pressures, I said that I do not want to do this in the second year. Let me try for the third year. Third year, my same story, no part-time job. Fourth year, same. Final year, same. So I think I lost out on those 4 years. I should have taken that advice. The advice that I did not get was after final year, I somehow decided I do not want to do a PG or I do not want to go abroad for further studies. Somehow nobody advised me that why don't you try? What is it that is stopping you from doing that? Everybody kind of accepted my decision. Probably that time I felt I was right in the decision, but somebody should have questioned the decision that why do you do not want to attempt a PG? And that is a slight regret, a very slight small regret that I still have today.
Superb. Amit, thanks for sharing this. Rohit?
People when pass from the architecture, they even don't know that what they like to do in future. At least do some basic homework, what they like. because when he know that he's have interest in interiors or architecture or landscape, he should focus, and then he should join the firm. Don't get salarized. You should join the firm without any fame. You want to learn from that firm. Just focus for the learning.
Yes, as an architect, you should have a design ability. But I think to be a good professional or to a successful professional, you should have other skills too, which is the management skills, the project management skill, time management, or how Chinmay said, the documentation skill. And to learn all these things, you should work with a big firm for sufficient time before starting your practice. That would I suggest.
Koshish.
First, you should be passionate for that field, whichever field. You should be passionate. Second, you should analyze yourself. What are your good points? What are your bad points? What are your positive points? What are your negative points? And according to that, you should build yourself. Then you can achieve anything.
Absolutely. Vikrant?
Well, there are a lot of advices I think I should have gotten earlier. But
one most important one.
I'll mention two, partly which has been mentioned earlier. But the one advice somebody should have had given me earlier before pursuing architecture was take criticism positively. When we do architecture, during our juries, all our evaluation is based on jury, and you are based on what he thinks about your jury. And most of the time it happens that he criticizes you. And that's how we have developed. So if somebody would have given me an advice that you are bound to be criticized, come what may you do. So that would have conditioned me to think that, okay, I am going to be exposed to a lot of criticism, but I have to find my way out. So I'll sum it up in a way that saying criticism is the fuel for growth. So that advice should have had given to me earlier, because now when I look back, these experiences and the kind of projects you do or the kind of interaction you have then make you realize that what crucial role criticism plays. It helps you grow. The second advice I should have had gotten was architecture is not about designing buildings. Architect needs to be a good manager. He needs to do good resource management, and he needs to be a very good time manager. Because you can be a very good designer, but if you cannot deliver it in time, you are a failed architect, as per se in the profession.
Wonderful. Friends, thank you so much for accepting our invite to be a part of ANA Digest Mighty Minds. And y'all were amazing. Thank you for being so generous in sharing your ups and downs, your experiences. And this is going to go a long way in helping the fraternity, the upcoming designers, the seniors who relate to your careers, and everybody who will view this film. Thank you so much.
Let's put our living stereo stylus in this groove.